Today, we're doing a little time traveling, and I really want you to completely immerse yourself in this. Just close your eyes for a second. Imagine waking up in the year 1250 BC. You're in Thebes, right in the middle of the reign of Ramesses the Great, literally the most powerful man alive. But right away, your senses are just totally overwhelmed. It's 110 degrees Fahrenheit outside, there is absolutely zero shade in the streets, and the air is incredibly thick with the smell of livestock, baking bread, and the muddy banks of the Nile River. You are about to spend a week in the greatest civilization on Earth.
But, hey, here's the really good news. You are in the 1%. You aren't knee-deep in the Black River silt with the farmers. Nope, you are a scribe. You live in a nice 3-room whitewashed mud brick house, and your entire status in society comes down to one simple fact. You can read and write. You've memorized over 700 complex hieroglyphic signs, and you wield immense power simply because 99 out of 100 people around you are completely illiterate.
To survive your week, here's our itinerary. We'll start with a welcome to Thebes, then jump into the scribe's daily grind, explore the gods and the temple economy, face down some medicine, magic, and hardship, and finally wrap up with festivals, death, and legacy.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. Welcome to ancient Thebes.
So you step outside your door wearing your standard white linen and cheap papyrus sandals, and you just look up. Right in your neighborhood is the massive Karnak temple complex. You're standing in the shadow of stone pylons that reach 145 feet into the sky. Its massive stone columns are so thick and packed so tight they practically block out the sun. It's the largest religious building on Earth, and it is genuinely awe-inspiring. But you know, there's a really stark contrast in daily life here, and you can see it right on your dinner plate. The temple feeds its scribes very well. We're talking fresh tilapia from the Nile, roasted duck, lentil stew with cumin, and red wine from the Delta vineyards. Meanwhile, the 99% are surviving almost entirely on thick, porridge-like beer and greedy bread. And that grit? It's literal sand from the grinding stones, which brutally wears down everyone's teeth by the time they hit age 30.
Moving right along to Section 2, the scribe's daily grind.
Your workday starts at dawn because the sun dictates absolutely everything in Egypt. You get to the administrative quarter and the pressure is on immediately. You're working with incredibly expensive materials. A single sheet of papyrus costs a whole day's labor. Your scribe master is watching you like a hawk, and if you waste that papyrus or make careless errors with your reed pen and carbon black ink, the punishment isn't just a stern talking to, it's a physical beating. You're out here calculating grain taxes, where a single wrong number could literally starve a family. You're also recording some pretty intense boundary disputes. Every single year, the Nile flood erases property lines, and farmers fight over the land. If someone is caught moving boundary stones, you casually write down their sentence, 20 strokes to the bottoms of their feet. There are no prisons here, because Egypt simply can't afford to feed people who don't work.
But then you transcribe something truly remarkable, a divorce settlement. The woman is initiating the split, and you document that she retains a full third of their shared property. Egyptian women could own land, run businesses, and testify in court. It's a stunning level of autonomy and legal equality that simply won't be seen again in this region for over 2 millennia. Pretty incredible, right?
All right, Section 3, Gods and the Temple Economy.
By day 4, it's time for your weekly temple duty. You don't go into the inner sanctum, almost no one does, but you work out in the massive outer halls of Karnak. Deep in the core of the temple, the statue of Amun sits in total darkness, glowing with what they call the skin of the gods, solid gold. And surrounding the statue are literal mountains of offerings. Tons of bread, meat, incense, and wine are delivered every single day. And this brilliantly illustrates the engine of the entire Egyptian economy. You see, the temple wasn't just a place to worship, it was a massive center for wealth redistribution. The logic was actually pretty simple. The gods consume the spiritual essence of all this food. Once they're satisfied, the physical food is redistributed. The gods eat first, the priests eat second, you, the scribe, eat third, and whatever is left trickles down to everyone else.
But hold on, before you can even touch a temple ledger, you have to go through a strict purification ritual. This means shaving your entire body, head, arms, legs, absolutely everything, because body hair is considered impure. You rinse in sacred water, chew natron salt to cleanse your mouth, and put on fresh linen. And whatever you do not wear wool. It is strictly forbidden and considered completely unclean inside the temple walls.
Which brings us to Section 4, Medicine, Magic, and Hardship.
Because despite your elite status and your pure linen, you really can't escape the physical toll of ancient life. The Nile is the source of all life, sure, but it is also teeming with danger. Everyone, including you, has parasites from eating the river fish.
Daily stomach cramps aren't a medical emergency. They're just a normal, accepted part of existing in 1250 BC. But there's an invisible terror lurking in the water that is much, much worse. It's called schistosomiasis. When you wade in the shallows of the Nile, these parasitic flatworms burrow right through your skin. It's a silent killer, slowly destroying your liver and bladder over a period of years. And the scariest part? You have it, but you don't even know it's a parasite. In fact, it is so profoundly common that people think the resulting blood in the urine is just a normal biological function. Some texts even refer to it as a male version of menstruation. Now, if the fever gets too bad, you go visit the physician. He smells strongly of castor oil and myrrh, he checks your pulse, and consults the Ebers papyrus. His treatment? A mixture of garlic and honey, delivered right alongside a magic spell to the goddess Sekhmet. To them, medicine and magic are the exact same science.
Let's move to how all this pressure builds into their social structure. While you're recovering, your neighbor, a sculptor who works on the pharaoh's tomb, drops by with a wild story. He works in a crew, 8 days on, 2 days off. A dozen years ago, the state failed to deliver their rations of grain and fish on time. So the craftsmen at Deir el-Medina did something completely unprecedented. They dropped their tools, walked off the job, and sat at the temple gates. It was the very first recorded labor strike in human history. And you know the crazy part? It actually worked.
Finally, Section 5, Festivals, Death, and Legacy.
By day 6, the whole city erupts into the Festival of Opet. It is this immense, joyful chaos. A golden boat carrying the statue of Amun is paraded 2 miles through the city, with acrobats, musicians, and weeping crowds. The temple throws open its storerooms and literally feeds the public with free meat and beer. It's a brilliant spectacle where the state feeds the people and the people worship the state. The line between religion and politics simply doesn't exist. So the crucial point here is that it all comes down to one concept, ma'at, truth, balance, and cosmic justice. The Egyptians believed the universe had a specific, delicate order, and every single person, from the pharaoh down to the poorest farmer, had a role in maintaining it. That deeply shared belief is exactly what kept Egyptian civilization incredibly stable for 3,000 years.
But maintaining cosmic order doesn't stop death. On your final day, you cross over to the west bank of the Nile to check on your own tomb being carved into the rock. It's beautiful, but the reality behind it is pretty grim. The average lifespan here is just 35. 1 in 3 children will die before their 5th birthday. Sure, wealth buys you slightly better food and shade, which might buy you a few extra years, but catastrophic infant mortality and rampant infection touch absolutely every single family.
And this brings us to the ultimate test. As a scribe, you frequently paint spell 125 from the Book of the Dead, the weighing of the heart. When you die, your heart is placed on a scale against the feather of Ma'at. If your heart is light and balanced, you get to enter the beautiful field of reeds for all eternity. But if your heart is heavy with sin, it's instantly devoured by Ammit, a terrifying beast with the head of a crocodile, the body of a lion, and the legs of a hippo. Total oblivion.
Ancient Egypt was a society of brutal hierarchy, rampant disease, and grueling labor. Yet it was also a place of breathtaking art, the first functioning bureaucracy, advanced legal rights for women, and a spirituality that gave every breath meaning and every death a purpose. It functioned beautifully for longer than any civilization before or since. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Would you trade the air-conditioned, antibiotic comforts of today for just 1 week in a society that perfectly understood its place in the universe? Think about it. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and keep questioning the past.